Well, thank you very much for the invitation. It's good to see all you here. The Catholic community has been so welcoming, and I was a Protestant when I was young, but to come to Catholicism has been very eye-opening for me in many, many ways, but not the least is the community. And community is something that's dear to my heart, because I think that we are finding ourselves often, the people of our culture and other cultures, our communities are being hollowed out somehow. And as a mom and as a grandmother, I feel a responsibility towards that. And I've never had really anything to say, but having had this experience and having now a clear idea that it's God's will that I want to share, I have something to say. It was a surprise to me. It's quite a surprise. I mean, I've never been on stage. I go on stage with my husband, but I had never been on stage. Or if I was on stage, I didn't say anything because I couldn't put two words together. But things have changed. So I went to university. I got a science degree. I became a massage therapist. I wanted to work closely with people. And I really loved that. I did that for about 25 years. And I always, I got married, and my husband asked me to marry him about 2 or 3 times. I kept saying, maybe. I'd known him since we were like 7 and 8 years old. I thought, you look like trouble. I don't know if I'm going to have anything to do with you. But as he got older and more accomplished, and I went to visit him, and he was writing a book and getting a PhD, I thought, oh yeah, I think you're marryable now. So he asked me until I caught him. That's really what happened. And we had 2 kids, and I loved being a mom. I stayed home. We talked about it. We decided that, well, partly we were living in the States and I didn't have a green card, so I couldn't really work, but I wanted to stay home with my kids, so I did. And it was nice to be there at lunchtime when they came home, and it was good to be there after school when all their friends came. In fact, we had 2 kids who lived down the street. They were homeschooled. They spent so much time at my house that people thought I was a foster mom. But I never did become a foster mom. So I became a massage therapist. I was a massage therapist for 25 years, and then I got arthritis in my thumbs and in my knees, and I couldn't go anywhere or do anything. So I stopped doing massages, and I thought, what's next? I didn't know I was asking God what's next, but I was asking, what's next? And about 6 months later, I noticed my husband was very, very busy. He was very busy, and maybe he needed some help. And so I said that I would help. And the next week, he put out that video. He came down that morning and he said, there's things going on in our society that aren't good. And my clients are telling me that they're having trouble at work, and these are ideological problems. And I said, well, put something on YouTube. What could happen? Yeah. But I was home, and when the journalist showed up, I was there. I was there to answer the door and answer the telephone and make sure that the next person could speak to him. And we thought that would last a day or 2, but it's still happening, right? It's still happening. I didn't know. He was stepping on a bee's nest, and he'd been talking to me for 30 years. It just seemed like a matter of the next right step. And I guess maybe it was the next right step. Because here we are now. So I went on tour with him But I worked logistics. I wasn't on stage. I made sure he got to the stage, that he had food, that he hadn't done too many interviews so that he had nothing to say that night. You know, I tried to make things go smoothly, and it went well. But the whole time I was thinking, what am I doing here? You know, there's this little niggly thought, what am I doing here exactly? And at the end of that year, I was diagnosed with cancer. And I was told I had renal cell carcinoma, that it was not going to kill me, that it was going to grow 1 millimeter a year and I could live with it, but when I had time, it would be good to have surgery. So the next spring, I had surgery. And it went well as far as I knew, and I convalesced for about 6 weeks, and at the end of that, I started getting a flank pain. And I went back to my surgeon, and he looked back at the biopsy, and it turned out that they had misread the biopsy, that actually I had a terminal cancer, kidney cancer, that was very rare. In fact, it was so rare that although I went far and wide to different cancer places, I went to MD Anderson, I went to San Francisco University Hospital, they had no treatment for it because no one had ever survived, and they didn't have any studies done on it. So they said, you can have surgery, you can have chemo, you can do biologics, you can take your choice because we don't know what'll happen. And I thought, I see. So that day that I found out I had that terminal diagnosis, I went home to tell my son. And I told him when I got home, but I saw I saw his response, you know. His response was of a son who was going to lose his mom. That wasn't what I was expecting to see. I'd made my decision, you know. I was at the doctor's office. Oh, I'm going to die. Well, you know, my mom died pretty young, and so did her siblings, and so did her dad, and so maybe I'm going to be one of those people. And so I just kind of said, okay, you know. But when I went home and I looked at my son, and I saw someone I loved him so much from the time he was a baby. Now he was a grown man, but he still had that same love was still there, you know. Anyway, he didn't really say anything, but that deep love, that maternal love that I had for him, and now he was reflecting back to me, my cynicism and doubt just left my shoulders. I felt it come off. I thought, I didn't know what that was. Felt like maybe my wings were tied and now they were loose or something. I really don't know what that was. And then I felt the Holy Spirit fill my body. That was a shock. And I said to my son, you know what? God knows when I'm going to die. The doctors don't know when I'm going to die. Only God knows. But we'll just go forward with gratitude. And that's pretty much, that day was the pivotal point in my life to focus my attention on gratitude, forgiveness, and doing the next right thing. So courage, really, because you have to have courage to do the next right thing, but I knew I didn't have that in myself. So I had a newfound courage because I had God with me. And so now when I do anything, like come up on stage, you know, I ask the Holy Spirit to help me because I don't have it on my own. And that's what calls me, I think, to continue on this journey. Now, I had a very strong self-will before, you know. Like, I really thought that I had my life in order. And for a long time, it worked all right. It really did. I mean, I got married, I had kids, I got a degree, you know, I was answering to my husband's needs, you know, I was trying to help him in his journey, but I didn't realize what I was missing. You know, it was the changes that have come about since then. My husband and I discussed some of the changes that have happened since my conversion. He said, I'm more like I was when I was a young girl. And he knew me then, so he knows that's true. He said, I'm more beautiful, kinder, less resistant, more apt to follow what I need to do next, to say what's on my mind, but not in a way that's going to be damaging. Because I've learned to pause, right? I've learned to pause so that if there's something between the two of us and it makes me uncomfortable, I know, you know, not to say anything. It's not time to say anything when you're full of emotions and self-pity, or, you know, just, you know, you're taking it personally. Yeah, so that's not the time to talk. Then I can just take that to prayer. And I do. I go in the morning, every morning. I sit out in the porch where there's sunlight and I can see people walking by. I like to be there. But it's all closed in and stained glass, so it's private. I sit there and I pray the rosary in the morning, and I think about what it is that is on my mind, because maybe I've woke up in the morning and there's something particular on my mind. So I'll take that to prayer. And, you know, I read the mysteries and you know, today with the joyful mysteries, so you know, humility is the first fruit. Well, that's a good place to start, is humility. And if I can find a way to humility, then I have a chance. Because with a very strong self-will, it's humility that I lack. So I like to start with humility. And then after humility, of course, then you want purity. So you want to be direct and confident that you've chosen direction that's from God, and it isn't tainted in any other way. Because as soon as it is, something else is calling you, that's what's highest, right? So if you go out in the morning to pray, but you still have it on your mind that you want something from the world that day, then that's what's highest. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work as well. It doesn't work as quickly. You know, I can remember when my husband was very, very ill and he was away for treatment, and I was only just out of the hospital, so I didn't go. And I missed him, and I was afraid for him. I didn't know if he'd survive. I didn't know. And my daughter was with him. She had taken him away for treatment, and I felt resentment towards her. And it wasn't just me. It was my whole husband's family, because they were also afraid for him. And my daughter had taken action, and she'd gone and tried to do something, but we didn't know the outcome, and we were all afraid, really. We were all afraid. And this was during that terrible lockdown. I was with my son and his family, and we were staying in a nice place off of Nova Scotia, a fishing house, I guess it would have been, but right on the water. It was a beautiful place. And they had to lock down for 2 weeks before they could see her family. So I said I would stay there with them, but I spent the time walking in the mornings, and I prayed, every morning for God to take this resentment from me, because I knew that she was doing whatever she could and that I was in no position to do anything. So it wasn't who was I to judge? And then what did I do? I did something. I looked up positive personality traits for my daughter. And I could find like a list of 300. You can find long lists of personality traits that are positive. And I went through them and I wrote them all down. And then at the end of that, I realized that this one thing that I was upset about was only one attribute, and she had all this other fullness about her that completed my perception of who she was, and it just dwarfed the trouble that I had. And so then the resentment, whittled away, and it was gone. And now I have a very good relationship with my daughter, and she was baptized not that long ago, and she's found her way to God, and so I don't worry about her anymore. This has been quite a journey of change for me, to come here and talk to you people about my experiences with the Holy Spirit. I think, God, when you make a plan, you don't let us know what it's going to be beforehand. He just puts us right in the water, and there we go, right? So now here I am. But I wouldn't have it any other way. It's challenging, and it's exciting. And anything that I might have planned, it just wouldn't be this, It just wouldn't be this. So when I pray in the morning, I pray for God's will. What's going to come up that day? Often it's a challenge. But now I can see that challenge as, there's something I have to learn today, and I'm grateful for it instead of frustrated by it. Whether it's having to be patient in traffic, or whether I have someone come to the door who wants to sell me something, and then I need to be kind. I don't have to say anything I don't want to say, but I can be kind. And so when I pray in the morning, I know there'll be a challenge that day, and I'm open to it. I think that it's the spice of life, really. I would say that's the spice of life. What has God got for me today? Could be anything. I know that now. Could be anything. Could take me anywhere. And I could be talking to anyone. And it's up to me to be awake and focused. If I'm distracted by something that I might want, I might miss that challenge because it might be subtle. Because often, God is very subtle. Most often, right? And so that takes up quite a bit of my day, just being present, just trying to answer to the next right thing. And I love to pray and to think about, I forgot to say thank you to someone, and then, to say thank you. Or, I could email this person. And so yesterday, I was coming here, right? Before I left, I went outside and there were flowers on the step outside. Oh, a bouquet of flowers. And I brought it in and pulled off the card, and it was from this lady who came to the lake this summer with her husband for a couple of days visit. She sent me a big bouquet of flowers. And I wrote her and I said, I think this is auspicious. I said, this is a good sign. I'm going to the Good News Conference tomorrow, and you've brought me a bouquet of flowers to send me off to the Good News Conference. I said, isn't that a miracle? And I got 2 messages yesterday. I got another one, a woman I've just met. She's in the theology department at Princeton. She's a sociologist. She came on my podcast, and then I invited her to come and stay for a couple of days, so we got to know one another. She sent me a card of thanks, and her husband is an illustrator, and he illustrated the crucifix on the front. And so then I had that message, another auspicious message for me to come here today and speak with you. This simple life is a sacrificial life. It's a sacrificial life in that I'm not doing anything else. I'm here, right? That's the sacrifice. The sacrifice of coming here to be with community, to be a part of a whole. That's a sacrifice, to be a part of a whole. But without that, if I was just going to be here and thinking all about what it has to do with me, that wouldn't be community-based, and it wouldn't be a sacrifice. It would be more of a bringing things to myself, and that's not as fun. That's not as fun. It's not as fun for me, and it's not as fun for anybody else in the room either. Because it's all about what we do for one another and what we do for ourselves in the future. So I pray in the morning so that my future self in the afternoon can have the right aim, so that I can respond to others in a friendly way. And even just those 2 ideas are enough for me to get up in the morning and have a pretty good day. I was suffering in the hospital. I suffered, that's for sure. But I prayed. I just prayed. My friend brought me a rosary, and she taught me to pray the rosary. She came every day for 5 weeks. Every day for 5 weeks. She only came to give me a rosary. But I said, a rosary, I don't know how to pray that. So she thought, I guess that's an invitation. So she taught me, but that was only one day. So she had to come back and teach me the other days. And by the time she'd done that, I think I spent like 2 hours with her every day, because I was in the hospital and my life was uncertain, and I had lots to talk about. I had to talk about my mother and my father and my kids and my life. I had to talk about all that, and she listened. She listened. That was so nice. Now that's a Catholic friend. That's a Catholic friend. She was my sponsor to the Catholic Church, Queenie Yu. She's a lovely lady. She works at a girls' school, Catholic school in Toronto. She's not a school teacher, though. I don't know what she does. She's there to provide. She's there to provide. I think that she probably develops programs and sees what's necessary, sees the next right thing to do, and she does it. That's what Queenie's like. And she saw me, and she saw that as the next right thing. Yeah. And I think she was probably right, because here I am, I'm alive still. God left me to be here, and I want to be of use. I want to be of use, and the only way we can be of use is to be present and not distracted by other worldly issues, to realize that those things will work themselves out, and then we'll know what to do when the time comes. So there's no sense worrying and obsessing about things that we don't see the next right thing. And we have to realize also we have lots of work to do to discover the direction. But we do that one thing at a time. And so there's no sense looking too far in the future. You can always dream on a star, but you do the next right thing. And when you do that, you don't know where you're going, but you're going in the right direction, because you're going in the direction that you've been shown rather than direction that you've chosen. Because when you choose the direction, we're seeing a lot of that these days out in the cities, right? People choosing who they want to be, what they want to do, how they want to be seen and understood, and that's all for naught. It won't work out for them. It's short-sighted. Only God knows who we are, who we're going to be, where we're going. He already knows all of that. So all we have to do is pay attention, clear our vision for the next right thing. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you. Thank you.